It was past midnight when my phone buzzed. A message from my son, short and urgent. "Can we talk? I need help." I hadn't heard him reach out like that in years. Normally, he handled things on his own. I felt a knot in my stomach, a mix of worry and curiosity. Something was wrong, and I couldn't ignore it. I found him waiting outside his apartment, pacing nervously. He looked older somehow, weighed down by an invisible burden. The moment our eyes met, he exhaled like a dam had broken inside him. "Dad, I don't know what to do," he said. There was a vulnerability in his voice that caught me off guard. My son had never sounded like this before. I nodded silently, unsure how to respond. He led me to a bench nearby, and we sat in tense silence. The city lights flickered across his face, revealing the strain I had never truly seen. Then he spoke, barely above a whisper. He suspected his girlfriend was being unfaithful. He didn't have proof yet, but something in her messages and behavior felt wrong. He wanted me there not just as a father, but as someone he trusted, to guide him through what he was about to discover. I felt a sharp pang in my chest. The memories came flooding back. The arguments I had ignored. The moments I had lied to protect myself. The quiet nights when I wondered if I had broken something that could never be fixed. And now my son, my own child, was standing on that same cliff, teetering on betrayal, and looking to me for guidance. That I tried to keep my voice steady. "Show me," I said. He hesitated, fumbling with his phone as though the weight of the evidence would crush him. I didn't rush him. I only sat there, silently, feeling the gravity of the moment. For the first time, I realized the gap between us. The years we hadn't shared, the conversations we had avoided, the mistakes I had made as a father, were all coming to the surface, demanding attention. He finally opened the phone. Images, messages, fragments of conversations flashed across the screen. He swallowed hard, eyes wide with disbelief. I could see the fear in him, the disbelief, the hurt. And as I watched him grapple with the possibility that someone he loved had betrayed him, I remembered the sting of my own past, the secrets I had kept, the lies I had told. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder, a silent promise that I was here. Whatever happened next, we would face it together. But deep down, I knew that the shock waiting on the other side of that phone would change everything. Not just for him, but for both of us. He looked at me, searching for guidance, and I realized this was more than a simple betrayal. It was a test of trust, of courage, of the bond we had neglected for so long. I nodded once, quietly, and waited. That I could feel the tension between us, heavy and unspoken, as the phone rested in his trembling hands. He kept glancing at me, eyes full of questions, as if searching for answers I wasn't sure I could give. The truth, I realized, was complicated. I had lived through betrayal myself, and the memories of my own mistakes clawed at me. How could I guide him without exposing my own failures? He finally spoke, voice cracking. "I don't know if I can trust her anymore. I feel like I'm losing everything I believed in." There was raw honesty in his words, a pain I hadn't expected. I wanted to tell him to fight, to confront, to demand answers, but I hesitated. I remembered the nights I had spent in silence, carrying the weight of lies that had once seemed small but grew into something unbearable. I asked him to breathe, to slow down. "Look, sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes the truth isn't what we expect, but it's better to face it than hide." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Inside, I was torn between wanting to protect him and knowing he had to experience this for himself. This was a moment he couldn't be shielded from. No matter how much I wished I could. He nodded, swallowing hard, his fingers gripping the phone like a lifeline. "Dad, have you ever? Has anyone ever betrayed you like this?" His question was simple, but it struck deeper than I anticipated. I felt the sting of guilt, the sharp reminder of my own betrayals and the walls I had built to keep them hidden. I couldn't lie and I couldn't run. Not anymore. Instead, I chose honesty. "Yes," I admitted quietly. "I've been hurt. I've made mistakes. I've learned the hard way that lies don't protect anyone. They only delay the pain." The words hung between us, heavy and real. He didn't respond at first, only stared at me, trying to measure whether my experience could somehow guide him, whether my mistakes could serve as a warning he needed. The silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with understanding, with the first honest connection we'd shared in years. I could see him gathering courage, ready to face the truth in his own way. He was terrified, but determination flickered in his eyes. The fear of betrayal had given way to a need for clarity, a desire to confront reality rather than run from it. Finally, he spoke again, quieter this time. "I think I'm ready to see everything. I can't avoid it anymore." I nodded, feeling a mix of pride and dread. He had taken the first step toward facing the truth, but the revelation waiting ahead would shake him more than I could prepare him for. I reminded him to stay steady, to stay honest with himself. Whatever unfolded, he needed to confront it without losing himself in anger or despair. We sat together, tense but connected, knowing the next moment would change everything. I braced myself for the revelation he was about to witness, knowing it would test both of us in ways we hadn't anticipated. And I realized in that moment that guiding him meant more than offering advice. It meant sharing my own pain, my own regrets, and standing beside him when the truth finally hit. He unlocked his phone and the messages appeared, one by one, each more damning than the last. My son's eyes widened, scanning the evidence that had haunted him for weeks. I could see him struggle to breathe, the weight of betrayal pressing down on him. Every word on that screen was a hammer blow to the trust he had placed in someone he loved. He looked up at me, searching, hoping I could offer some clarity. I stayed silent, letting him process, knowing that rushing in with comfort or explanation would diminish the impact of his own confrontation. This was his moment, and he needed to face it fully, raw and unfiltered. I could feel my own pulse quicken, the memories of my past rushing back with brutal clarity as he scrolled. His hand trembled. I can't believe she'd do this," he whispered, voice barely audible. The betrayal wasn't just in the messages. It was in the hidden intentions, the secrets, the lies carefully disguised as care. I wanted to tell him that pain like this was inevitable in life, that it could be survived, but my mouth stayed shut. He had to feel it, fully, to understand it, to grow from it. Then something caught my eye, a detail I never expected. A name, a reference, something only I could recognize. A flash of recognition that made my stomach drop. This wasn't just about his relationship. This was connected to a secret I had buried long ago. A mistake I had convinced myself no one would ever uncover. The realization hit me like a cold wave. The past I had tried to hide was creeping into the present, reaching across the years to collide with my son's world. He noticed my sudden stillness. "Dad, what is it?" he asked, fear creeping into his tone. I hesitated, knowing the truth would shatter him in ways he wasn't prepared for. But hiding it now would be cowardice, and he deserved honesty even if it hurt. I could feel the weight of generational mistakes pressing down on me, the same mistakes I had long promised myself I would never pass on. The phone continued to glow between us, its screen a relentless mirror reflecting not just his pain, but mine as well. Each message, each image was a reminder of how fragile trust could be, how quickly love could twist into deception. My mind raced through my own failures, the lies I had told, the hearts I had broken, and I understood in that instant the full magnitude of what I had to confess. He looked at me, eyes wide, desperate for answers, for guidance, for reassurance. And I realized the irony. Here I was, supposed to guide him through betrayal, while carrying a secret that could devastate him even more. The choice was clear. I had to tell him the truth, no matter the consequences. The shock he was about to receive wasn't just about her. It was about me, and the past I had tried to keep buried. The moment stretched, heavy and unavoidable. My son braced himself unknowingly for the revelation that would change everything between us. And I knew deep in my bones that there was no turning back. That I took a deep breath, knowing there was no more time to hold back. The truth I had carried for years was about to surface, and nothing could soften its impact. "I need to tell you something," I said, voice steady but heavy. My son's eyes, still wide with shock, locked onto me, silently urging me to speak. I swallowed the lump in my throat and continued. I confessed my own past, the mistakes I had tried to bury, the moments of betrayal that had shaped my life in ways I had never admitted aloud. I told him about the choices I had made, the lies I had told to protect myself, and the damage I had caused to people I loved. Each word weighed on me, but I spoke them because he deserved honesty. No matter how painful. He listened, stunned, the initial shock slowly morphing into a storm of emotions. Anger, disbelief, sadness, and confusion swirled across his face. He didn't respond immediately, just stared, processing a truth that made his own heartbreak seem small in comparison. I could see him struggling to reconcile the father he thought he knew with the man who had hurt others, and even himself so deeply. I can't believe this, he finally whispered, voice tight. All this time. And you never said anything? His words weren't accusatory, just raw and searching. He was grappling with the realization that betrayal wasn't just something that happened to others. It had been a part of our family, something hidden in plain sight. I nodded, accepting the weight of my silence. I tried to steady him, to remind him that the purpose of honesty wasn't punishment, but understanding and growth. I failed you as a father in ways I can't undo, I said, voice quiet. But you need to know the truth so you can avoid the same mistakes. Protect yourself, make your own choices, and don't let anyone's betrayal define your worth. He absorbed my words, slowly realizing that the shock he felt wasn't meant to break him. It was meant to teach him, to arm him with knowledge I hadn't had at his age. He sat in silence, digesting everything, tears forming at the corners of his eyes. I could see the burden of years lifting slightly, replaced with a clarity born from confrontation with reality. He understood that life would test him, that love could be painful, but that facing truth head-on gave him the strength to endure it. Finally, he spoke, softer this time, voice steady but heavy with emotion. I don't know if I can forgive everything, but I understand why you told me. I'll find my own way through this. I nodded, knowing that was all I could ask. He had the tools now, the awareness to face his own challenges without repeating history. I stayed with him a moment longer, silent, letting the truth settle between us. It had shattered illusions, but it had also created a fragile bond of trust. The night ended not with resolution, but with the first real step toward healing, for him and for me. The shock had come, the truth had been faced, and for the first time in years, I felt the weight of secrets begin to lift, leaving only the possibility of repair and understanding, no matter how long it would take.